Hello, everyone, guys. Today we have a new podcast, Dialogues with Colleagues, and today I have a pleasure to introduce you to my good friend and colleague, Diandra Whyms. She is an experienced, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and moreover, she owns her own immigration practice called Harbor Cave Immigration. And on top of that, what I love the most, that like myself, she also has a completely different, another line of business, but it is also related to immigration. She offers unique bookkeeper services for immigration companies. I personally am Diandra's client, and she helps me to navigate the complex things in our bookkeeping. So, Diandra, first of all, thank you very much for your time that you agreed to find like 2 hours of your time in today's busy world to meet with me, because like we already discussed this for a long time. So First of all, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you for having me. We were both located in Ontario, and it's been fall, spring this week, and I was just happy to see the sun a little bit today. So I'm doing great, honestly.
Not for long. I saw that like we're expecting another snow.
Yes. So that was even more reason to just soak up all the sun you can get today.
Perfect. Okay, so Diandra, can you like briefly introduce yourself in terms of how you started your immigration practice? Because I know that just like me, I came here from marketing. First, I established my business for marketing services for immigration consultants, and then switched to become myself an immigration consultant. In your case, it was a similar story, right? You were a bookkeeper and then decided that, okay, why don't I do something more, right?
Yeah, so I've been a bookkeeper for about 16 years now. And my immigration story actually starts from the time I was in university. So before I actually became a bookkeeper, I was kind of doing immigration help on the side. Like I always tell people, the inspiration for me becoming a consultant is my mom, my late mother. When I was in university, I was kind of a rare person from where I'm from in the Bahamas, and not many of my family and friends knew about like Canada or immigrating to Canada. I came to university, and ever since that, my mom just used to anytime somebody said, "Hey, my son or daughter is interested in going to Canada," she just give them my number. And she'd say, "Oh, my daughter can help you. We went through the process. Like you can call her and ask her questions." So it was kind of like an informal thing, and the bug just kind of grew and grew. And even though I was, working in accounting and bookkeeping, it still, it still was resting or there on the side, simmering. And finally, funnily enough, when COVID hit, I had the opportunity to actually, have the time and the resources to go and get the education to become an immigration consultant. And so I enrolled in the Queen's program, went through that, and here I am today.
That is really lovely. It's I'm pretty sure that it sounds like very familiar to many of our colleagues when you do yourself an immigration, but then somehow people start approaching you and asking for help, but you realize that you can help only if you are licensed, and that's why we got licensed. Perfect.
Yeah.
So guys, today, sorry.
Because you only know what you know until you
Exactly.
get into the nitty gritty of immigration law.
For sure. Okay, guys. So basically, before scheduling this podcast, we discussed what topics we prefer to cover today. And at the end of the day, we decided that people do not talk about it a lot, but it is a quite important topic. It's a citizenship. So today we are going to discuss Canadian citizenship in general, but more like in addition to general things, we are going to talk about the recent changes in the legislation, the Bill C3, which got a royal assent last November, so not that long ago, and a lot of things are changing. So I will start. My personal attitude toward Canadian citizenship is it really depends who is talking. When I talk to my clients on the consultations, I usually advertise something in the way that, look, Canada offers you something that no other Western nation offers. You can get the passport as soon as 3+ years. Like, this is very fast. It is enough for you to live in Canada for 3 years, and after 3 years, as a permanent resident, you can qualify for citizenship. Processing time is not really long. Usually it is between 6 to 9 months, I would say, sometimes longer. My personal citizenship took longer, actually, because it was COVID. Yeah, but at the end of the day, still, like within 3+ years, someone can become a fully Canadian. And just to recall you, the difference between a citizen and a permanent resident is only threefold. PR cannot vote, cannot run for the office, and cannot hold several specific government positions that require top secret clearance. But again, like these things are like can be overcome with the time. But at the end of the day, like after 3 years, you become a full Canadian citizen with a full set of rights, and like that's it. That you can vote, you can do whatever you want. On the other hand, when I'm thinking about it as a Canadian citizen, it becomes more controversial because, like in some cases, I do think that people must live slightly longer to realize how it's going here, what is Canadian politics, like to understand the difference between lips and cons, and just to feel like what you really want to support. Again, like the good thing about Canada is that we're not as polarized as our neighbors in the south. The difference between liberals and conservatives is shorter, and they are way closer comparing to Democrats and Republicans, and good for us. At the same time, I'm not sure that I would want, if I were a Canadian born, that I would want Canadian citizenship to be granted as soon as 3 years. What is your opinion on that?
You know what? I haven't really thought about it from that angle before. Because for me, I'll tell you from my perspective, I waited the full 5 years, mind you. Like I renewed my PR once, and then I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm just gonna go apply for the citizenship. And so that gave me the perspective of I've been here for a whole 5 years, more than that actually, and I know exactly what I'm getting into. I know the benefits. I know enough about the political climate to actually fulfill my duties as a citizen, because I think people kind of get caught up on how the citizenship benefits them, but you also have to think like you take an oath, right? You take an oath, and you're saying that you're going to contribute to the society, that you are going to like fulfill your civic duties as well. And in that from that perspective, I would tend to agree with you that maybe 3 years is not long enough to have enough of a perspective to do your civil duties.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm even thinking about it like because initially my background is history and political science. So like as a political scientist, I usually think about it in a way that, unfortunately, people tend to vote with their emotions rather than with their brains. Yes. And even from this perspective, so what we see a lot historically, that like every new wave of immigrants tends to keep voting for the party who was in charge when they immigrated. Exactly. Which is like, I can understand this logic, but I cannot agree with it because like it is not objective. Like you need to vote because you support the political course of the party. You need to vote because you understand what do they stand for, what they support, and what they want to move on. And not just because someone has funny socks, speaking of.
But funny socks are nice.
I will speak up and think on this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. It should take some time for you to actually live and work here and really gain a good understanding of the political climate. And you're right, a lot of people, and we see it in our next door neighbors as well. You see people are voting from a place of, this person is saying exactly what I want to hear, so yes, that's the party I'm going to vote for. But citizenship is more nuanced than just the politics as well. So it's, I tend to agree with you in terms of the politics, but in other matters, then I think 3 years is enough to gain enough experience here in Canada. And remember that a lot of people aren't coming from a place of just applying for citizenship. You have to live here for a while, and most people will come as temporary residents, spend some time working, then get PR. So it's quite a bit more than just 3 years that they're spending here. So in that case, you can see that he might be involved enough. For the most part, I can tell you that most people aren't tapped into it. You'll see that there's a lot of people that don't exercise their right to vote even after gaining the citizenship, which is a shame, because this is our society too, as new Canadian citizens, and we should be doing that, right?
Exactly. Well, actually, that's what I always encourage my clients who approach me like for a citizenship application. I usually, like, when their application is finally approved and when I prepare them for the oath,
Yeah,
I usually tell them that, look, guys, like, now you have been added to the to the list of to the registry of the Elections Canada. Please go and vote. Please, like, do your research, like, know the parties, know who is, like, again, like, party is okay, but first of all, meet your candidate from your riding. Like,
you're
like
right. Yeah,
very common in Canada when you support one party, but on your specific riding you like better like a candidate from a different party, and it's a good thing. That's
yeah,
one thing that I really like in Canada. So
yeah,
do that because it is important. Like, by exercising your right to vote, you literally express your willingness to contribute to the society.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
after all, you decide that you choose this country to live and to raise your kids. So do what you think will be the best for the country.
Hmm. And these are the people that are representing our voices on the larger stage, right? So if you feel very strongly about immigration matters, then you should be talking to the MP in your area, because you these are the people that that are our representatives on a larger stage. So I definitely agree with you there. Like, you should start right at the very beginning, which is your immediate neighborhood, right?
Yep, exactly. And just want to add something, like, to what yeah, you mentioned a very interesting and important thing that we need to emphasize, that yes, a lot of those who become Canadian citizens, they live actually longer than 3 years as before they become citizens, because yes, many students, many foreign workers, they start before PR. And the good thing that I really like in our immigration system is that time spent on a temporary status, you can count 2 years as 1 year towards citizenship,
Right.
which means that, like, if you spend several years here as a student or as a worker, the day you become permanent resident, it's only 2 years before you can apply for the citizenship. Again, like, no other country offers anything similar to this. So from this perspective, Canada really gives you the most.
Yeah.
But Diandra, let's switch a little bit towards Bill 3. So can you briefly, like, tell what changed, and let's discuss after that.
So this one's very controversial. I love it, but there's been a lot of public outcry about it. People feel like it's just like blowing open a door and inviting people in with no plan. That's what I've seen on, on the blogs, the Reddit forums, everything. Basically, what happened is Bill C3 came into effect, and it removes, the biggest thing is that it removed the first generation limit. So before, what happened is that only the first generation born to a Canadian outside Canada could avail themselves of citizenship. So, after that first generation, you were not considered a Canadian citizen if you were born abroad. With that removed, it opened the door for a lot of people who have ancestry in Canada to avail themselves of Canadian citizenship. So what's happening now is that you're seeing a lot of people, especially from the United States, given what's going on there, the political climate, the economic climate, everything. A lot of people are trying to reclaim Canadian citizenship because they have a grandfather, a great grandfather, great grandmother that was born here in Canada and moved to the US.
Well, that's again, like, you're completely right that, like, it's very controversial and sensitive. And again, I apologize. I don't want to hurt anyone by some of my expressions, but, like, still, like, I still believe that, like, honest discussion and like, being open-minded, it's good for everyone. And like, well, like, I also follow this sensitive topic, and I hear a lot of complaints and a lot of people talking that, look, but okay, like, you are going to give citizenship to someone who has no connection to Canada, who has zero experience or knowledge about what is actual to be Canadian, and like, will those people really be a contribution to us, or like why do we need like more Canadians, like such Canadians, like if they want to, they can simply come here, live here, and to go through the regular way. Why, like, what is behind this? Yes, I can understand this with the United States, but what about other countries, like different? So, for example, birth tourism, like in the regions that I'm coming from, I'm from Ukraine and former Soviet Union. There was a very popular thing, like in the 90s and in like especially in like in the next decade, a lot of rich people simply came here on TRV, gave birth, and left.
That's right.
And now, 18 years after, like, their children are Canadians. To those children, now we have new children, and they are also Canadians.
That's right.
Like, but they have zero connection to Canada.
So I look at it in a couple of different ways. So I'll tell you the perspective I have from having had consultations and meetings with people who are trying to take advantage of availing themselves of citizenship through Bill C-3. The most of the people that I've spoken to from the US are literally the people that are dissenting voices to what's going on right now in the US. These are people who are vulnerable. These are similar to, like, from LGBT communities, from racialized and marginalized communities that just don't feel safe in America right now. And knowing that, and it's very, you know, we're neighbors. People always, you know, we kind of recognize Canada as like the friendly neighbor up north and everything. And not only that, for people from these vulnerable communities, they realize that Canada is a safe haven for them, right? And so realizing that, oh, I do have a connection to Canada through an ancestor and I can get out of here, has been a lifeline for them. It's been like a little ray of hope in what's becoming some really dark times, right? So from that human perspective, I can see why people are looking to take advantage. I do understand what you mean in terms of, like, there's no connection. You've never traveled to Canada. You've never been here. And now we're giving you the right to vote, right?
Yeah.
I personally think that part of the underlying reasons of doing this was, you know, our immigration levels plans for the next few years are to reduce those numbers that we, like, those PR and temporary resident numbers that we have right now. And I think it's another way for them to attract kind of the ideal immigrant. That's my 2 cents on another controversial train of thought. I think it's more of trying to attract, like, ideal immigrants from, like, European communities from the US. Because these are the sets of people that you can trace ancestry back to Canada, right? Like, people coming from Scotland and England and everything at different points in history and settling here in Canada. So there's two different ways you could look at it. I choose to look at it from the human perspective because most of the clients that I've been talking to are just looking for safety.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not against, like, this change. My sense here is more like that, again, like the idea is good, the implementation is bad.
Yeah.
Let me elaborate on this. So let's draw a line with spousal sponsorship. What is the main condition in the spousal sponsorship? Okay, like, any Canadian or any Canadian permanent resident can sponsor their loved ones, bring them to Canada, but under condition that they commit to live here.
That's right.
I'm totally okay with granting Canadian citizenship to those who deserve it, who are eligible, under condition that they commit living here, like bringing their income here, paying taxes here, and contributing. Just to give them the passport just because one of their ancestors was Canadian, like, for me, it's not a fair deal for those who actually live here.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that is a very real consideration because what I'm realizing for a lot of these cases, these C3 cases, is that these are older people, right? Like people that are established and everything, and they want the advantages of the citizenship. And, they're married or in common law relationships, and that will turn into spousal sponsorship cases later, right? If the spouse or partner does not have the connection to Canada like they do, that would have to turn into a spousal sponsorship case, in which case they do have to actually commit to
Fair
one
enough.
process coming here to Canada. And I think as consultants, as immigration professionals, that's one of the things we have to get across, right? Because people are thinking, oh, well, I just want options. But the option, right, is there. But if you want your spouse to be able to come with you and settle down and work here, you actually have to come. So I
Oh,
think that's
that's
important to
a really
point out
good
to
point.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, thank you for like, like showing me the different angle. That's a really good thing to consider. Yes, but
Yeah.
by the way, speaking of that, I just had a very interesting case which I'm currently working on and struggling. So I have a couple from former Soviet Union who are now residing in one European country. But their status there is permanent residence. It's a very long time for them to become citizens. They're simply PRs. And recently there were some changes and they decided, okay, why don't we move to Canada?
Yeah.
They gave birth to their children in Canada. So
Yes.
adult parents are not Canadians. Their adult children are already Canadians. Their grandchildren will become Canadians because they are they are first generation.
That's right.
And they wanted to come to Canada to explore, to visit. Unfortunately, they have a citizenship that requires visa entry. So they applied on their own for TRV, stating that, look, our children are Canadians, our grandchildren are Canadians. We want to visit to explore Canada.
Mhm.
They got refused. They approached me after this refusal. The second application I helped to do, I prepared this application. I was a representative on file. So unfortunately, yesterday we got a second refusal. The
Uh,
refusal is very stupid because again, the officer stated that not sure that you will leave Canada, Article 179, obvious, no ties to homeland, not sufficient funds. So just imagine the family has more than 1 million in assets. They have passive income. They own a lot of real estate. Yes, they technically they almost don't work. They have their own business. They simply own a business. They got dividends.
yeah.
And when you read such a refusal, and when we explain that they want to visit for the Easter, to spend here, that, these are normal people who have to be admitted,
Yeah.
and yet looks like Chinook or officers simply don't read the application, and it's very absurd. So
It's
um,
these TRV refusals are getting more and more absurd, and I'm seeing so much of it, especially with the World Cup coming up. You see,
yes,
people have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquid cash, and they're saying you don't have enough funds for the trip. We don't think you're gonna leave after 20 days, or the
that's
cash
insane.
doesn't. I just don't get it. And that is what they keep trying to convince us. I don't know if you've seen it, but over the years they've been trying to convince us like the AI does not make a decision, and
Yeah,
offers
yeah,
always, these are proof positive that the AI is making decisions.
exactly.
That is crazy, because if you are looking like, these are like, to me, if I was in the officer's shoes, these are things where I would be like, yeah, they have real estate, they have property, they have like a good amount of funds to fund this trip. They have grandchildren and children here that they just want to see. For me, these would not, a refusal would not make sense in some of these cases. And again, I think it's just proof positive that the AI has been making decisions, and they've been lying to us all this time,
Yeah, yeah.
because it just
Exactly. But yeah, what is the most disturbing part for me that we explained that look there is a clear evidence younger generations of the family have Canadian citizenship. What else do you want? What the hell? But yeah. But going back to citizenship. So do you think I know that like obviously we don't like have like the numbers of statistics, but do you think we will face like this like wave of new Canadians coming to Canada?
I can tell you that just from the amount of inquiries from the meetings that I've had, we're definitely going to have a wave. And you can also see it kind of happening in real time as you watch. Like if you keep on top of IRCC processing times, that proof of citizenship processing time is slowly creeping up. The only thing that's really kind of saving us right now is that people are need to take time to like get documentary evidence, because when you're looking for like a birth certificate from the early 1800s, that's, you know, that takes some time. But a lot of the folks that I'm talking to are already deep into their genealogy, and so they have documents on hand, or they are ready and willing to do it. But as we see that processing time creeping up, you realize like, oh yeah, people are trying to take advantage of this program. Only thing that's causing that's not causing us to have a big wave of it right away, I think, is that it's a paper-based application. That takes a little while longer too.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen those in a while, right? Like a paper-based application. It's the system just can't handle these types of cases online at the moment. But for the foreseeable future, they're going to be paper-based. So I think that might slow things down a bit, as well as the sheer research that is involved in getting and retrieving those documents from past generations.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Another aspect of citizenship that I noticed, and I'm just curious to know if you also experience or see something like that in your like work. So I already a couple of colleagues complained that IRCC started to invite people to the physical interviews. And actually, just today, one of my clients, we submitted her application for citizenship in May 2024. So it's like almost 2 years. All of a sudden today, she is invited for the interview in 2 weeks in Calgary. And again, like majority of our colleagues with whom I discussed this, they think that usually it's just like a matter of verification of ID.
Yeah.
But in some rare cases, it could be something different when they have like, I don't know, like suspicion, like maybe they have questions regarding the test, maybe to the language. Because in her particular case, she submitted a certificate from a language school rather than like recognized test. It is allowed, but like again, like we don't know. We will find out only in 2 weeks. Do you have anything like that in your? Do you observe something like that in your practice?
So I haven't seen that yet, particularly with these citizenship by descent cases, though there is that kind of fine print there that they could potentially invite you in for an interview. And I think that we'll probably see some of that happening, especially as more and more people start applying. And quite frankly, I think what they'll do as well is like bump up that price. Because right now, for people to apply for proof of citizenship, it's $75 government fees, right? You spend more money on like maybe hiring a genealogist or an ancestry expert to trace back things and find documents for you. It's a really low application fee. And I feel like these are the tools that IRCC uses to kind of like, weed out the people that are really, really determined to do it. Versus the ones that are not, that just want kind of an easy in. The other thing about this too, to your question, is that these applications can also be submitted as groups. So if you trace back that lineage and your siblings and their children want to apply, you can like put all of those applications together and apply as a group. So I think that they're going to have to at some point do something to like stop the wave of people that will apply for this. They're going to have to do something, and I think price will do that. I think that interviews will do that, slow things down, and also act as a tool for them to be able to say like, no, we don't approve this.
frankly speaking, I think that like in this particular case, I think IRCC does need to increase the government fees because, like, well, quite obvious, like it's a process that takes time, and after all, it's not something that is decided like within 5 minutes. So it requires some like background checks and etc. So it must be paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're gonna. I think we'll see that coming up too, right?
Yeah.
As we get deep into seeing the applications flow in, they'll release that price increase alert.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, guys, speaking of citizenship again, like I want to emphasize one more thing. Probably not everyone know, and like now you will know. One of the great advantages of Canada is that Canada accepts dual, triple, quadruple citizenship. Canada is like very open-minded and has no problems with your other citizenships. Yes, of course, Canada will treat you only as a Canadian while you are in Canada. Obviously, if you travel to your other country of citizenship, Canada tells you, well, if you do something bad over there, we will not be able to help you because you also have a citizenship over there. But in general, for those who love to have several passports, well, another reason for you to consider Canada, because not so many countries allow this, and Canada is really good in that.
Yeah, it's one of the rare ones. Most I know that like when my sister was back in university, she had Indian roommates, and they got citizenship during that time. We knew them, and they had to renounce the Indian citizenship to be able to accept the Canadian because India does not allow dual citizenship. So it's usually the other country that is the problem. And for most people who have dreamed of coming to Canada, it's a no-brainer. They renounce the other one, right, and then keep the Canadian citizenship. We have to remember that Canada's passport is powerful on the world stage, and for a lot of people, that trumps everything, right? Like that's the best of all worlds. So they'll go for that.
Yeah. By the way, I have like a very like a like funny story. Like it's like consider it like as an anecdote, but like I saw myself several occasions when Americans who are traveling abroad, they literally try to use some Canadian symbolics on their on their baggage or in their appearance. So people like in Europe or in Asia consider them Canadians rather than Americans, because like it's such a notion. So like not everyone loves Americans, fortunately, but everyone loves Canadians. So whenever you go, like, and it's real fact. Like I saw myself like that how Americans disguise as Canadians abroad just to get a better service.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
That's actually really funny. I did not know that was happening, but I mean, I could kind of see why. And you're right. Like they depict it in popular culture too. Like you'll see these shows where, like an American is in Paris or something like that, and they're talking about them on the side like these stupid Americans or anything like that. So there is like on the world stage, there's a sense that like Americans are entitled and all of this stuff, and so it's hilarious that that some of them are like, yeah, let me just present as Canadian so people treat me better.
But by the way, like one of my good friends once shared with me a story, and he told me like, dude, whenever you get your Canadian passport, you should travel to Netherlands. Like, why me Canadians? Like, what's the point? Why? How? Like, don't you know? And he told me this story how like the royal family of the Netherlands, they took refuge here in Canada, and when the queen was about to give birth to her baby, but according to the Dutch constitution, she was supposed to be born on the Dutch soil to be able to inherit. So for one day, Canada changed the law and declared the land of the embassy as a Dutch territory. So by constitution, the royal baby can inherit, and as an act of gratitude after that, that's why so we have this beautiful tulip festival in Ottawa every year. That's actually the reason why we have it, because they express their gratitude, and every year they send us 100,000 tulips.
Yes.
And because of that, in the popular culture in the Netherlands, Canadians have a very good reputation. So really, guys, we took this advice, we traveled to the Netherlands, and the moment we told that we are from Canada, we usually got a very good attitude.
Arms wide open, like welcome.
Yes, yes. And they still remember this story, despite that already like 3 generations has passed. But like,
but it's amazing, right? Like it's extending the hand of friendship, and that's what Canada's known for, right? Like kind of being that friend that you can count on, and one that is safe, right? And again, to just look at the human side of the people that are taking advantage of the changes from Bill C3. It's the safety that they're attracted to. It's that feeling of I can breathe. Like I don't have to worry about like the craziness that's happening in the US. I can come here and I'm safe. I don't have to be like worry about being like snatched up off the street, even though I'm a citizen. So
yeah. Okay, Diandra. So like to conclude our meetings today, your advice to those who are PRs in Canada and who hesitate whether to apply for a citizenship, or and to those who are still abroad but who are descendants of Canadians who hesitate, what is your recommendation?
I think I can tell you from my perspective, because I didn't realize, one of the things I didn't realize is how poignant that like taking that oath was. I remember having to do my citizenship ceremony virtually because of COVID restrictions and everything. And when we got there, it was like going into waiting rooms, them checking and verifying who you were and all. There was a lot of like admin stuff. And then we got to this point where the citizenship judge came in and we recited the oath. And I found myself tearing up a little bit because it was the feeling of it was a long journey to get home, right? And for those of us who know the blessing that it is to have 2 countries to call home, it really hits you deep. It's a lot more emotional than you think it was. Like I was surprised because I was just so deep in the admin part that when we recited the oath, I was like, oh my gosh, like I could breathe, right? I breathe a sigh of relief. So to anybody that's a PR here in Canada and thinking about whether they should apply for citizenship or not, I would urge you to think about what it means to be a citizen, what it means to be Canadian. And if those values align with yours, then I would definitely say apply and get your Canadian citizenship, because this is what we need, right? Like we need a voting population that's responsible, that is that is engaged, and that comes from having that connection and being here and living through it. For those of you that are abroad and have either just discovered that you have some Canadian ancestry and you want to avail yourself of the citizenship, or you've known that you've had this ancestor, it just never meant anything to you because you couldn't. I would again urge you to think of what it means to be a citizen, right? You don't want to enter into something like becoming a citizen, a steward of that country lightly, for any country, but specifically for Canada. What we do here affects others. This is a first world country. It's a developed country, and our influence is felt around the world, as we can see from what's happening in the US, right? The things that we do here in North America affect the rest of the world, and we should be very cognizant of that. We should be careful with that. And so if you're looking at becoming a citizen, know that it's not just a piece of paper. It's not just holding a passport. It comes with responsibilities too.
Yeah, Diandra, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your feelings. It kind of like resembles like the thing that I felt when we accomplished like this achievement, because like in our case, so for me and for my wife, Canada is like it's our second immigration. So like we were born in Ukraine, then we immigrated to Israel as children. And actually, on our very first date, it was funny because like we were discussing that it could be a good thing to try living somewhere abroad. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about the US, and she was like, hey, I was always dreaming about England. and be like, okay, you know what, like Canada is the right match because like it has like a part of like both,
Part of
just
each,
like
yeah.
Canada. And we agreed that like if our relationship develops into something, we will immigrate to Canada. And obviously, yes, a few years after we were already here. To be honest with you, I felt more emotionally more touched when I actually got my citizenship rather than when I got my permanent residence. Because like PR, it was like it was a very disturbing marathon, and you were so tired at the end of the process that you were like, I didn't feel enough. I didn't have enough emotions to be happy when we finally got it. But with
Exactly.
the citizenship, really, like when we were actually saying those words, when we were, we were recalling Queen Elizabeth, and like it was touching. It really means a lot to me, and uh, my idea was always the following. So, guys, to those of you who are considering whether you should become Canadian citizens or not, I think it's worth trying, simply because, again, like this society has a good history of building a successful community, a successful society where everyone is respected, where everyone has the right, where everyone has the freedom for expression, for assembly, for business, for religious beliefs, for being whoever you want to be. Probably this is the only country that allows me to keep all my identities at the same time without hearing anything against it.
Right.
And like for me personally, Canada was the place that I selected, not because of like it was solely my and my wife's decision. No one forced us, and I'm very proud to be Canadian today.
Amen to that. I am proud to be Canadian as well. Well said.
Yeah.
Love. Yeah, it feels a lot. You hit the nail on the head when you said like PR wasn't really a celebration. It was just like, okay, I finished that step. It was
Yes.
stressful. I had anxiety the whole time. But citizenship felt like you could finally breathe. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Perfect. Diandra, thank you very much for your time today. It was amazing conversation, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. And guys, you will find contact information of Diandra below. If you're an immigration consultant and need bookkeeping services, I strongly recommend Diandra. If you're immigrants who need any help with PR, with citizenship, again, you can find my contact info. You can find Diandra's contact info. Pick a time, book a consultation. Both of us will be happy to assist you. Cheers, and this was Dialogues with Colleagues. See you next time. Bye-bye.